Well, we've been waiting to start until you got back.
Okay.
You're still not sitting
We
down.
had a cat task.
Don't forget the hat.
I walked in the door.
Well, we're live. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah, I walked in the door, and for some strange reason, the cat jumped straight up in the air at the windowsill and came down and knocked over 3 plants. And so dirt went everywhere from the plants all over the kitchen floor. The wife started cussing, and of course, it was my fault.
Of course.
I walked in the door. Somehow scared the cat.
Oh,
Felt
yeah.
obligated to help clean up a little bit.
That's where you should have said April Fool's there. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hope everybody's doing good. I'm feeling a little bit better. Bill's not going to be with us today. I think he said they were going to school, looking at schools for his son, and then he was going to go look at a hobby shop. So he's going to be having more fun today than we are. But anyway.
We always have fun.
Yeah, but the rest of us are here. So good morning, everybody. Okay, Steve, let us know who's here.
Oh, boy, we got quite a crew in here. We got Don Tanzillo. Good morning. Stephen Wigwag, Gerald Stewart, John Benachecki, Rob T-Man, DES. Hi. H&H Express, Grandpa Rails, Bernard, my buddy, how you doing? Heath, good morning. It's always your fault. Mark Pruitt, good morning. Allison, good morning. Let's see. We got Byron, good morning. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Let's see.
Ethan's here.
I didn't see Ethan. Oh, my buddy Chuck, CDP. Good morning, Chuck. How are you doing? Oh, well, anyway. Good morning.
John Benicki.
Yep, got him.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yep. I don't know.
I'm horrible at trying to figure out how somebody pronounces their name because names don't follow the rules.
What's your first name, Pathbell? I don't want to say PVR all the time.
Did he hear? I don't know if he may not have heard you.
I don't know.
Anyway, we don't have anything planned today as usual. So anything somebody wants to talk about, we're open to. Did anybody pull any tricks on anybody this morning? Dennis was going to try it and he forgot.
Yeah, I had a good one planned, but in the fog of not having any coffee yet, I completely forgot it.
What's everybody's best April Fool's joke that you pulled on something? You could still do it, Dennis. I mean, you know.
No, I think it'd be a little too late now because she's already looked out the window and knows that it's not.
Could do another one. Try something else.
Yeah, I'll have to come. A good one with her is always a spider. She despises spiders, so if you act like a spider is on her somewhere, or she might be. She wasn't listening when I walked in. She was doing something.
Okay. Well, maybe the cat had a spider on it.
Maybe.
Why isn't everybody scared of spiders?
I don't know. My son's definitely afraid of them too.
Really?
To me, it's very.
He'll scream like a little girl.
Be afraid of something this big that you could step on and destroy.
Yeah.
What's fun is to find a really gnarly looking picture of a tarantula. You know, one that's really hairy, and show him that, and it just gives him the heebie-jeebies. Just a picture of it.
That's the way my mother is with snakes. When I was probably 8 or 10 years old, we went to the dentist's office. And have magazines, I don't know, maybe they laying out on the tables, and she's looking through this magazine while we're waiting, and she turns a page. There's a big old picture of a rattlesnake. Literally screams and throws the magazine in the middle of the floor. Promptly felt quite embarrassed.
Yeah, Brenda's the same way. You can't even saying the word snake freaks her out. She just, and yeah, she can't see him on TV, pictures, nothing. Lily, you know, the dog I had in her a little earlier, she was out the other day barking at the downspout, and our downspouts are tied into a French string. So there's, you know, they go down, but there's something had gotten in there. I'm assuming it was old baby bird had fallen down in there or something, because you could hear it in there, but it couldn't tell what it was. And a mouse or something would have been able to get out. So she was over barking at this thing. And I told Brenda, I said, well, it was either a baby bird or a snake, but I think a snake would have come out too. Boy, that she was just like, oh no, no snakes, no snakes. Yeah, but she had been at Girl Scout camp or summer camp, right? And they were sleeping in the tent cabins, you know, like wood floors and stuff, but canvas sides and all that mess. And they had a swing or a bench or something out in front of it. And her and her girlfriend were sitting there swinging their legs, kicking dirt. And their counselor came by and said, girls, I want you to stand up and come to me. And so they did. Well, they'd been kicking dirt back on the rattlesnake underneath this bench. So that's what started it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were, I mean, she said this thing was just covered with dirt where they'd just been flipping their feet back and forth and just kept kicking dirt on it. It was just laying there in the shade. But yeah, that would give you the heebie-jeebies right there. Anyway, yeah, Bernard, here you go. Here's Bernard's April Fools with all gauges. Yeah. Well, Bernard's out there where he could have 60 acres out there like that and run live steam. You ought to do that, Bernard.
Where's Bernard at?
He's in Elko. He's technically, I think he's just east of Elko. He may be in the town, but it's, you know, he's out a little bit from Elko. But Elko is northern Nevada.
Nevada. He's in the desert, right?
Yeah, he's in the desert. Well, he's up high desert, so he gets cold there quite a bit. I know he's always talking about how much snow and stuff they have. But yeah, he's in Elko. Because I was going to stop by there when we took that trip last year. I was going to go by there, and then we ended up changing plans and going a different route. So didn't get to go by there. But yeah, he's in Elko, Nevada. Let's see if Steve's coming back here. Steve's having trouble with his internet today.
If you got him back, I will probably lose sound.
It is not operating this morning.
No, there he is. Yeah, well, you know how it is.
Everybody still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Normally I get knocked off when we add somebody.
So anyway, what's new with there? What have you been doing, Jerry, besides working? Just working?
Working.
Just working. Well, I haven't been working because I've been sick, but I'm feeling better. And of course, now I say that I'm getting ready to cough.
Are you a contract woodworker? Is that what you do for a living?
What's that mean?
Well, I mean,
like you call me up and I build you something. That's what I do. Is that it? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I help out at my family's vineyard and things like that.
Yeah. I've got actually the guy who's singing the Dirty Shame song on my video, his brother is a professional woodworker that does that same kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, he's like Norm.
Not quite, but you know.
Did you ever watch that show? I'm sure you probably did. New Yankee Workshop.
Yeah, I used to love that show.
Oh yeah.
Brenda would actually watch it with me sometimes, and she'd go, "Well, you could do all that stuff." I said, "Yeah, if I had his $50,000 worth of tools." You know, he had all that nice, you know, bench tools and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah. She didn't have any idea how much that kind of stuff costs.
Having the right tool for the job is very key in making any kind of professional product. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I watched your
especially if you're
video
doing
on
something like cabinet or bookcases or something like that, you need a nice table saw with a big run out, you know, flat run out and stuff. So you don't have to, I've got my little I say little portable. It's a rigid portable saw that I've had for a long time. It works really well. But if I'm cutting a full piece of masonite on there, trying to cut it down, it's tough to handle by yourself because I don't have any place to run it out.
Well, I'll tell you, my radial arm saw table, that's been the best investment that I feel like I've made in the whole model railroad thing. My only regret is that I didn't have that before I made the Time Saver, because I think the Time Saver would have turned out a lot better and I'd have done things a little bit differently now than I did then. Just because I kind of gained a little bit more woodworking knowledge that I didn't have at the time.
Yeah, so Claude, what you say is, you really don't need all these tools to do things. There's other ways to do it, like you just said, Dennis. People get caught up into, I need this because he has this. I see him use this to make this. But there's, like craftsmen built things with nothing but hand tools. So,
Oh yeah,
with a hammer and a chisel.
Like you don't need those things. Do they make things easier? Yes. But that's it. I mean,
yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
But what I did on the Time Saver is I laminated, my 1x4s to create a ledge so that the runner, I guess you call it, what stood in for an L girder, just a 1x4 that comes down on here.
yeah.
I just laminated two together to create a ledge.
Right.
Where once I had the radial arm saw, I just cut a 2x4 in half so it would have some place to lap in and support.
Right. Which
I still did the same thing. I just used a different technique to get it done.
Yeah, there's a lot of different. It's the thing with model railroading, right? There's, Claude's way of doing mountains, Dennis's way of doing mountains, Bill's way. Everybody has a way of doing it, and your end result is the same. Your journey might be longer or shorter.
Right.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're comfortable with working with.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, when you built, Steve built he built the cab for this locomotive and all the cars. And, it's all woodworking. I mean, Steve's a woodworker. And you've got a table saw, right?
Yeah, it was all done on a table saw. My internet was freezing up, so I don't know if you can even hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you. So, like, Steve had a post this past week about his caboose. Like, he built his caboose in a day, right, Steve?
No, 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks? I thought you did it in a day.
Oh, no way.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
It was about 16.
I guess I misunderstood that.
Yeah, but he built all that stuff. But all the, the cab, especially on the locomotive, the woodworking skills that it took to do that.
Yeah.
But then definitely a professional looking job.
Yeah. If you know how to do that, you can do it with other tools than what you normally would use sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It's always a different one.
So, excuse me. Anyway,
Steve's like wax figure over there.
I know.
But that's all right. We hear you though.
Yeah, we can hear you. Uh-oh.
Oh, if you can hear me.
Here comes the dirty crawler.
Well, that won't do any.
Bye, honey.
I can't.
What are you telling them I'm going to freak out if I see a spider? What are you talking about?
Okay. Spider didn't work.
He said,
well, have a nice day.
And we're just going to start calling her the dirty crawler.
I can call you some names, Claude.
Yeah, well, she'll poison my food next time I go out there.
Yeah, I guarantee you don't want to piss her off.
Oh, I've been married long enough to know you don't want to do that.
Right.
Well, you're the one that called her the dirty crawler. That's, I'm just
What
following.
you just did?
That was
didn't say a
on. You
word.
got it. We got it in print, dude.
I didn't call her the dirty crawler.
Yeah.
I said she executed the dirty crawl.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a difference.
Well, that would make her the dirty crawler, wouldn't it?
It depends on how you look at it, Claude. I wouldn't call her that, though.
It depends on whether or not you live in the same building with her or not, right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Hi says check the replay.
Hey, Dennis, can you work on your layout on one of those little stool creepers?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. That was a departing gift from my work that they shut down on me. I guess it's been 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. That came with me from the range.
Yeah, I've got a little short stool that I use, especially if I get up in the inside the mountain. I'll pull that in there to sit on, so I don't have to stay on my knees.
Yeah.
But I will probably run the railroad a lot of times from that stool in the high position. Would be just about right for viewing on the lower level. And then the upper level, I just stand up and it's perfect for me. So
yeah, this one's perfect for the staging yard.
Yeah.
I can roll around, which, the staging yard mostly is operated from one position, kind of by design, but I consider that in everything I do. When I put the panel and that kind of thing, where I'm reaching and stuff like that, I try and keep all that in mind as I build. And most of the locations are operated from one 3-foot area, give or take.
Yeah, I've got one on the upper, up at the summit of the mountain where it goes off the Y. I've got one siding up there that's on both sides of the mountain, so I can operate it from either side of the mountain for that particular siding that actually bypasses the Y. And I knew I was going to have that at some point. If you have more than one person in there running trains, you're going to have to be able to go by there in opposite directions without having to run around the mountain to do it. Because as you know, in my layout, I don't have a lot of aisle space.
Right.
I wasn't planning on having a whole bunch of people in there. So, but even 2 people, if you have to move back and forth across each other all the time, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I've tried to keep all of my aisles 36 inches, which there's going to be a few places at the end of Silver Gulch and probably the end where you loop around Basalt that, or Frying Pan, that will be a little more narrower than 36, but I think I will still be able to easily keep it between 30 and 36.
Yeah, see, I don't think I've got a 36-inch aisle width anywhere.
Yeah, that was an intentional design feature of what I did, which I know I shared it when I did it, but I actually laid down blue tape everywhere and measured 36 inches as I went, and then built all of my bench work inside the blue tape marks. And now it's a matter of going back in and measuring the fascia, because the blue tape's still there, and don't let the wife fool you. It's not to keep her from touching things like she says it is. But I'll run a plumb bob down from my L girders and my joists, and try and make sure that my fascia all is running fairly close to where that blue tape is.
Well, if I'd had the space that you have, I'd have done the same thing. I'd have made sure I had plenty of aisle width. But I didn't have that. And then when I decided to put the mountain where it is, I had drawn that spot on the floor because there's nothing on the floor. It's just a plywood. And it ended up being, 6, 8 inches outside of that circle is where it ended up, you know.
Same thing here. I don't think I'm a full 6 or 8 inches, but I'm probably 3 or 4 inches further than I wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, because I started out with going to keep that mountain 4 foot wide, basically, the loops at 4 foot, and of course, trying to get them in there, and I'm still at, you know, only 25-inch minimum. So, you know, that's still fairly tight for HO, but it made me have to expand that circle out to get it in there and get it fit in there like I wanted. But, you know, it worked okay. So, and me being the only person in there most of the time, it's not a big deal. So.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah.
You ever notice that Claude and Dennis never stop talking?
Yeah.
You can't get a word in edgewise with these guys.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get a word in because your internet's all screwed up all the time.
Well, I can talk, but I can't even talk.
Okay, what do you want to say?
You guys got to take a little pause. You need a pause.
No, I just, you know, Sparky figured out I've got a green screen.
Sparky, you had a green screen?
Yeah, well, let's see. I got to find it now because it was way back in there. Claude was
Have you done anything else on the locomotive since last weekend, Steve?
Yeah, I had to take all the wood off the tender deck because it was. Well, I used construction adhesive to put the wood plankings on the deck, and they were starting to pull off. For some reason, that construction adhesive didn't really bond the wood to it well as I wanted to. Plus, the last time I was telling Claude, the last time I ran it and I was bringing it home, I left my oil can of steam oil on the deck of the tender, and it bounced sideways. And when I got home, it leaked steam oil all over that deck, and it worked in underneath all the little wood pieces. So I had to pull those.
Is that what caused it to come up?
Well, they were loosening anyway. Because when I did the finish on the wood pieces, I used linseed oil, and I tried not to get any of the oil the bottom side of the wood, you know, and apparently there was enough on there that construction adhesive didn't want to stick to that wood. It stuck really good to the stainless steel of the deck, but the wood pulled off. So I pulled all the wood off and scraped off all the construction adhesive and cleaned it all up. So it's all nice to re-glue. I've got a different product I'm trying to glue it down to say.
What are you going to use to glue it down? What are you going to use?
It's Loctite PL300. It's a mere marble granite construction adhesive, and it's they use it for mirrors, marble, granite, concrete, brick, glass, tile, ceramic, fiberglass, metal, drywall, and backlight. And hopefully that's going to be strong enough to keep it down, to hold that.
I bet you that PL6000 would keep it down.
Yeah, it probably will. It should. But I cleaned it off really good with methyl ethyl ketone to substitute MEK. And I think that's going to work really good. And I got some LED lights ordered for the caboose markers. They come in Monday, so I'm going to install those. Those will look really good.
What's to your right?
My right.
Yeah.
I just covered everything, so keep it clean.
Oh, okay.
Jeff wants to know what lubrication oil you use.
Your windows back in your caboose?
I did. Yeah, I got it back in.
Say that again.
Jeff wants to know what lubrication oil you use on the locomotive.
For just the regular lubricating, just the 30 weight, but the steam oil for the cylinders is a really, really thick oil. It's designed not to break down at high temperature, so that'll get down in there and lubricate those cylinders. And that's what I spilled on the tender deck. It's really gooey stuff. It's really thick and really sticky.
In Closet Branch, Jerry says he wanted to say hi to you. He's been following you since 6:15 yesterday, which I'm not going to ask what that means.
What?
I don't know either. Hey, because I did a
Look behind you, Jerry.
I did a live stream yesterday, and he was hey,
okay.
what's up, Closet Branch? How you doing, buddy?
It just sounded kind of funny. I thought maybe might be behind the door. You never know.
Yeah, he's a stalker.
Oh, so anyway, well, I haven't done anything on my layout. I started building structures again yesterday because I'm getting ready to do the rest of the upper deck. So instead of building cardboard mock-ups, I'm going to go ahead and build the structures I know are going to be up there, and then I'll go from there. But that'll let me plan a.
So what are you going to add?
What am I going to add? You mean on the upper deck?
What are the structures you're going to build?
Well, one of them is it's a model. The one I'm working on now is a model masterpieces kit. It's the Gazette building. It's the dental, it's that dental stone materials is what it is, and it's going to make a really nice little building. I don't know what the building's going to be yet. It could be a lot of things. It could be a newspaper place. It could be pretty much anything. It's just a basic old store. It's got 1902 placard on the front of it and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be an interesting little building. And then I've got a cold dock. Steve said I should put a cold dock in. I said, hey, I got one. So that's a fine scale builders or something like that kit. And I got it.
Elevated?
I'm sorry?
Is it an elevated coal?
Yeah, it's the small one. They made two different ones, and it's the small one. And I'd seen it for over $100, and I ended up getting this one on eBay for like $40. So there's no reason I bought it because I wouldn't have otherwise. But it comes with all the detail parts and stuff like that with it.
Yeah, I think I looked at both of theirs to if there was a way it would fit with my coal trestle, and decided that neither one of them would really fit.
Yeah. So I know those two buildings will be there. The brewery that my son started building that I'll probably have to finish is going to be up there. I'll have a engine house. I just don't know how many stalls yet. I don't know. I haven't decided if I want to put a turntable up there or not. I just, I don't know if I'm going to need it. I may put a small turning Y in somewhere.
Where's your coal dock going?
Is there such thing as a small Y?
Well, not really, but with narrow gauge engines, if all you're turning is the engine, you don't need a whole lot of room.
Your tail end doesn't need to be but 65, maybe 85 feet.
Yeah.
Scale.
So
I think Ys look cooler than turntables. I don't know for some
they each have their place, and it's like Silverton. That's what they have up there to turn the train around as a Y, but they turn the entire train on that Y.
Right.
When they get up there, but yeah, I mean they both have their place. It just depends on what the railroad would have available at the time, and the Y is a lot cheaper to put in than a turntable, that's for sure.
Sure.
That goes with, I think, modeling or real life.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, look here. Mark's
one of the
trying
things
to
I liked about
push stuff off on me.
Or basalt is it's got both a turntable and a Y.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Mark, but the 130-foot turntable is a little big for my narrow gauge. So I've got a 50-footer that's a nice kit with the pit and everything, but it's going to be too small. It would be more of a 1880s era turntable. I thought about
C19 on it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I thought about putting it in and having it be abandoned.
Yeah, like that would be cool to do it as an abandoned thing.
It just takes up, that would take up so much space, and I'm not going to have a lot of space on that for that little town up there. So I decided not to do that, but I do have that I'll end up having to sell sometime if somebody's doing 1880s or something like that where they're using really short locomotives, because it's just a 50-footer.
Claude, where are you going to
You broke
You
up.
broke up.
Where are you going to put your cold dock ramp?
It'll be up there on that second level.
Okay.
In the small town. That'll give me someplace to deliver coal to also, both places. So, excuse me. And I haven't really sat down and figured out exactly everything that's going to be up there yet. I've just been doing everything else on the layout. But now that I'm getting ready to do that, I want to get the buildings I know I'm going to have up there. And then I'll go from there on track plan and all that stuff.
Hey, before you get to what Dennis is up to, I got a question for Claude and Dennis. Steve, you can answer this too. What made you model where you're modeling?
What made me model where I model?
Yeah, why did you pick? I don't know, Steve, if you're modeling an area, but I know Claude and Dennis are. Why did you pick those areas to model?
Oh, I didn't pick a particular area.
I know you didn't. Claude and Dennis did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're both doing Colorado. Now, Dennis is doing more prototype stuff, closer to prototype stuff. Mine's generic mountains. And I did the mountains because I love the mountains.
Okay.
And so I knew I was going to have that, and I wanted the dramatic views of what you get in the mountains versus running across the plains of Oklahoma. That's pretty dull.
Well, for me, it started, I would say, and I don't remember what year it was, but it's a combination of two things. I took a trip on the Durango and Silverton, and if you've ever done that, it really, if you don't already have a model railroad and you're thinking about building one, it would severely maybe make you think about what you're going to do before you do it, because it's just, to me, it's everything that you would want a model railroad to be. And I love, of all of the locomotives that exist, that narrow gauge K series of locomotives to me are the best looking, well proportioned locomotive that was ever built. There's a few others that I really like. I love all of the high hoods, the diesels. If you want to talk about the diesel genre, I love the high hoods. But when it comes to steam, I just think that the narrow gauge K series locomotives was the pinnacle of weight, proportion, width, all of those things. I just love the way they look. Now, as far as the area goes, as I've mentioned before, I have the proverbial railroad of lies. Because the prototype that is inspiring me, the actual line from Leadville, Colorado to Grand Junction, Colorado, was the Colorado and Midland, which was a standard gauge. But it was a standard gauge that had all of the flare.
Uh-oh. Hang on, Dennis. We lost you.
Oh, shit.
Damn you, Steve.
Dennis. Stop, Dennis. We can't hear you. Reset. Well, for some reason, when somebody comes on the program, kicks Dennis's sound out for some reason. We haven't figured out why.
My fault. I'm trying to reset my router in here.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, Dennis, now you can finish your story.
Okay, where did we lose sound?
I don't know.
You were talking about it being a standard gauge, but you're doing it.
Yeah, the Colorado and Midland is standard gauge, but I'm modeling a what if, the Colorado and Midland right into the point they started building, maybe from Leadville to Grand Junction, investors dropped out, the Durango, the Rio Grande and Western jumped in, said, we'll build it, but we're not going to build it standard gauge. We're going to build it narrow gauge, just kind of a what if scenario. And then maybe they dropped out, and then the Otter Creek, had some investors and they jumped in. I haven't written the actual backstory to it, but that's how I got where I'm at now.
Yeah, I haven't really come up with a story for mine yet. It's going to be similar to that, but I haven't really sat down to finalize that. I've kind of got it in the back of my mind, but I haven't really, like I say, sat down and want to put it on paper yet. But I will do that probably at some point. But yeah, I like the narrow gauge. If you ever get the chance to ride a coal-fired steam train, which is getting harder to find.
Yeah, I think there's one in Nevada is about the only one left.
Yeah. Well, the one Cumberson Toltec are still running.
Are they still running coal?
And Durango's still running coal too, but if it's any kind of fire danger, they're running the diesels. Whereas the ones in Chama, they're starting to transfer to oil fired. So they're just converting
all of them
to an oil fired.
Kind of state law that said you will.
I don't know because, seeing the Cumberson Toltec's owned by New Mexico and Colorado. So they run it in conjunction with it because it passes the state line like 13 times.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So they got together and did that, but they're fighting the same battles as far as ecology people and stuff, and even though they follow them with the little carts and stuff to put the fires out, they still get by sometimes. So
yeah,
burnt the whole country down a few years ago.
Yeah,
I can't remember which one did, but one or the other did.
It was Durango Silverton. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what really started on having to go look for some alternatives besides the coal. But it's the coal itself. It's not the oil. Oil fire to be much safer as far as that kind of stuff.
You don't have cinders
takes time
or dropping out at the bottom of your fire pan.
Yeah. But it takes time to change those over. So until they get that done, they're still running coal. I know that. In fact, the Denver, the Durango and Silverton is still running coal from the same mine they ran when they first started there. So they own that coal mine, from what I understand, and they're still pulling that coal, comes out of there and goes to Durango. I don't know if they're using the same one for Chama or not, but.
Who actually owns the Durango and Silverton?
I'm not sure. I haven't gotten into it and looked. I know it's changed hands several times over the years. Is it
an individual or is it a corporation?
It used to be an individual, but I think it's a corporate thing now, or a trust or something like that that's doing it. But it's maybe the Historical Society of Colorado. I don't know. I've not ever actually gone into it and looked. But the Cumberson Toltec is owned by New Mexico and Colorado. So, but there again, if you ever get a chance to get behind one of them and ride one of them, you'll kind of understand what Dennis and I feel about them. Steam engine to me is just even the one Steve's got there, they're just they come alive when you fire them up.
Yeah, they're you get to see why they're moving.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's
that's
like they're breathing.
Yeah.
well, that's the fun part about steam is the moving parts are all on the outside.
Yeah, you can kind of see it working.
Mm-hmm.
You see everything happening.
And what's really cool is watching them come alive when you light the fire.
Yeah.
And steam starts to hiss and pop, and it comes and likewise when you drop the fire or shut it down and blow the boiler out, all of a sudden it's dead. It's kind of strange, but yeah, that's cool. Pal Valley, he says that the East Broadtop number 16 and the NW 611 are still burning coal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're still out there, but they're not going to be there for much longer.
There's a lot of them are still burning coal.
Yeah.
Stroudsburg steam engines burn coal. All of Reading, Blue Mountains burn coal. All the little tiny, like Wilkerson, they burn coal. There's a lot of little ones here in Pennsylvania, and they still all burn coal.
You guys are considerably wetter.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
It's strictly the fire danger from it.
Yeah.
Is why they pushed it. And of course, being in Colorado, you've got all the tree huggers that are the ones that are really behind wanting them. They wanted to close Durango Silverton Railroad down completely. So that's, they've kept them from doing that, but they've also pushed them to have to get the diesel locomotives and stuff like that for the high fire danger times. Now, once they get all changed over to oil,
they won't have to worry about it.
They can do away with the diesels.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know that's what they've been fighting over there.
The diesels for them aren't prototypical to their line, right? They're just something that they're using to adapt.
Yeah. In fact, the diesels they've got there, they've got two now, other than their switcher. They've got a 44-ton switcher that's up at Rockwood, which is just before the High Line. There's a small yard there. And that's where the last time I saw it was parked up there. But they've got the two Alcos that they've got now that they're actually running the train with are from the White Pass line in out of Skagway, which is a neat trip too. And they still have a steam engine, but I'm not sure. I don't think it's coal. I think it's oil fired, and they don't run it very often. They usually do that with diesel engines on it. But that's a good ride too if you're over in Skagway.
So, Dennis, are you familiar with the East Broadtop?
I'm somewhat familiar with the East Broadtop. I know a little bit of its history. I know that a family, my understanding is that I don't know if the guy who owns it now or the previous owner, he was promised like a toy train when he was like 8 years old or something like that. And then the Great Depression happened or something along those lines, and he wasn't able to get it. And then, like, when he was 50 or something like that, he had made something of himself and ended up buying the entire railroad.
Yeah. He's a scrap guy. He's a scrap dealer. Yeah. And he bought the railroad like years ago, in the 80s, I think. I really don't know how long ago. And he bought it, and it was still running, or he got it running again, but he wasn't going to scrap it. He was, he wanted to operate it, and he operated it. So those engines there, do you know, are they the K type that you're talking about? No. Okay.
I think the K types are unique to the Denver and Rio Grande Western, I believe. I don't know that they operated on any other line anywhere.
I guess I would have to see them. So what are they? What are their numbers? Like not road numbers, like engine number. Like
you got the K27, which is
K27.
The 27 stands for the amount of tractive effort, I believe.
Okay.
K28, the K36, and the K37. Those are the four.
I have to look them up and see what they look like compared to like a K4 or something else.
Well, they're going to be smaller overall because they're narrow gauge, first of all.
Right. Yeah.
But they're going to look very similar to most steam engines.
Right. Yeah.
They're just going to be smaller.
Well, they're all going to be outside the frame.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's kind of the thing that makes them look cooler than the others, because you can really see the counterweights. You don't see counterweights are not part of the wheel like they are on normal.
Yeah, you don't see the drivers. You see the counterweights on the outside of the frame. Yeah. The wheels are on the inside of the frame, and they did that so that it can make the engine bigger.
The boiler
would sit up too high. It sits down a little lower because they moved the frame out.
Claude, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those were converted from standard gauge steam.
I don't think so. They may have taken one or two of the like K36s or 7s and gone the other way, but they'd have been small engines on a standard gauge track.
That's my understanding, is that, the boiler itself on the 36s and the 37s could have been put on a standard gauge frame with a standard gauge configuration. But it just didn't have the same look because it makes the boiler sit up higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
low center of gravity is what makes them look cool to me.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been, to me, it wouldn't have been worth it to do it that way because they're not as big an engine. So you can't pull on a standard gauge track what these guys could pull on a narrow gauge track because the narrow gauge cars are so much smaller.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the old historical photos, the K27s, even when they came up with those, and before that, the C19s and 16s, they could only pull 2 or 3 cars on the steep grades. The K27s can only pull 7 or 8 cars, passenger cars, because of steep grades. And even then, sometimes they have to have double head on them if they're going up. So the K36s came along, and now they're pulling 12, 14 cars up a steep grade by themselves. So that's a huge difference in what they can pull. Yeah. But K36s and stuff are if you look down the railroad track, they hang out way out over the rails because they're pretty good sized engine. But they're still going to be smaller than a standard gauge, a lot smaller than a standard gauge.
I know my precision scale K27, even though I tested it on a 3% grade, could pull 10 cars up a 3% grade. For some strange reason now, I can't pull 8 cars up my 2% grade here. I still haven't quite figured that out yet. What happened that in my test, and I know I've got some curves in there, but all of my curves should have never equaled more than a 3% grade because I did all the math on that. There should be no 3%, anything higher than a 3% grade, including my radiuses on this. And I proved that it could pull a 3% grade, 10 cars. I think the difference is the weight of some of my cars, and I don't think I included the Blackstone cabooses, which have scrapers on the wheels. Those Blackstone cabooses actually drag. They will drag back a little bit on the whole train, which helps with the coupler bounce. Mm-hmm. But I think it adds a significant amount of resistance as you pull the whole train.
Oh, well, sure it would. Yeah. Anything that's holding that to hold it straight or extended is going to drag the whole train. Yeah.
Yeah, I can put one of those cabooses on my 2% grade and it won't roll down.
Huh. I didn't know they did that. I don't have one of those, so I didn't know they did that.
At least I'm pretty sure it won't. I haven't, because I had the last time I tried to take my precision scale up, I took it off and the whole train didn't go anywhere, back down. And I assumed it was because of that caboose on there.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jerry?
Why doesn't it roll?
No, it's what he was talking about. They've got I think it's probably the brakes that they have molded on there, isn't it? I don't have one, so I can't answer.
I thought I would be able to show you, but
hang on, let me get you bigger here.
I don't know if I can. You can't really see him, but underneath
Oh, it's got brakes on it. It's got brakes.
There's a brass scraper that interfaces with the axles, and there's just a little bit of drag. Of course, I can't get it to show you where I'd have to take the whole truck off where you could see it.
And it's enough that it won't roll.
There's just a little bit of drag there. Now, it might just be the one caboose that did it with, and you know, you have different combination of trains when you make up a train. You know, I haven't run it enough because I've tried to prevent myself from running a lot of trains just because of the fear of, you know, something dropping to the floor. But now that I've got some of that styrofoam on there, I'm a little more, I got a little more confidence that nothing's going to happen now.
That's pretty good. We got 27 thumbs up and 25 in chat.
Dennis, maybe you know this answer. I'm not sure what the foul point is on the narrow gauge.
I bet I could measure it real quick.
I don't know if I'm trying to think of any structures that are closer, like a platform or something. The Cumbers and Toltec doesn't have any platforms that it pulls up next to, which would be the ultimate place to actually check a foul point. And I don't think Silverton Durango does either. They're all, you step up off the ground. There's no raised platforms that they pull up next to. So I don't know. That would be the easy place to answer that question from. As far as structures on the side, they're all pretty far away from the tracks. You know, even the water tanks are out quite a ways from the tracks because the spout's so long on it. But I can't answer your question. I don't know.
Are like the coaches and cabooses wide too?
Yeah, they're fairly wide, but they're sitting on 3-foot trucks, so you can only get so wide. Because if you get too wide outside the wheels and you get people just on one side of it, the whole thing's going to lean.
Yeah.
But go on YouTube and you can see if you look up the Durango Silverton and you see some shots where people have taken video of the train coming right at them. And of course the track's not perfectly straight, and boy, they're just wobbling on down the road. You know, when they first got the K27s, they called them the mud hens because that's what they look like going down the track. Look like an old mud hen. So that's
I thought I had a scale ruler, and I was just going to measure. This is this is the narrow gauge track gauge. This is a standard gauge, and this is the Mark II, which this would have been the early days of standard gauge steam. And then here is a modern, and you can't really see the difference between the two. Oops. But, you know, even modern day is quite a bit wider than the old standard gauge. And then of course, if you put the narrow gauge to today's standard gauge, you can see that quite a bit of difference between what was allowed then and what is allowed now.
So basically these narrow gauge passenger railroads didn't have platforms?
Well, they may have back in the day. They don't now. The ones that I've been on don't.
What do you mean by platforms?
A raised platform.
A raised platform so that, you're getting onto the car at one level, instead of
having to step up off the ground up in the car.
Ground. Yeah.
Raised platform that would basically be the height of the bottom
you mean
step of the car.
At the station platform?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because what I was saying was that's the easy way to tell what your foul point is. From that, you can kind of estimate how far that is. Then,
I mean, this would be the foul point right there on the gauge.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have my scale ruler is in the house, I think, on my other workbench. So
yeah, I don't know I've never measured it, so I don't know, but because I always just use the gauge. But I don't know what the true foul point is on the narrow gauge. There's no place that I can think of that anything comes real close to the tracks on the ones that I've been on. So I can't answer the question.
Path Valley, are you up by the EBT? Path Valley? As I see him talking about the EBT.
Yeah, he's talking about they don't have platforms either.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you mean raised platforms.
Raised platforms, yeah.
Specifically something that just allows you to walk off the platform into the locomotive.
No, or coaches, really. Mostly
well, they would have been up to the bottom step of the coach.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything like that.
Well, or a loading platform, say, for boxcars stuff. Kind of like what I've done with my slaughterhouse. I've got a couple of platforms out there that were up to the level of the boxcar.
Yeah.
But even at the Chama yard, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, because all of those cars have steps built in on them.
Yeah.
So unless, of course, I suppose those steps would be part of the foul point, you could maybe still pull up to something that was that height and not have the stairs run into it. But I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a second.
Well, if you think about it, most of your cars, passenger cars, the stairs don't protrude out past the side of the car anyway.
No,
they come down, and the last step is
down
right on the outside edge. So, you still have to raise platforms in some places, and of course, mainly for freight loading and stuff would be where you would see those. And there's a raised platform at the Chama station, but that station sits quite a ways from the tracks. I say quite a ways. It's 20 feet, 25 feet from the tracks, at least that far. But at one point, they may have pulled a train alongside that. I don't know. I've not seen any pictures of that, but could be. Anyway.
Man, that went fast. Guess we can't see no updates from Dennis.
So John says, back when the regular railroads used heavyweight cars, the conductors had portable steps that they placed.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah,
I've stepped up on those before. Getting on the Santa Fe, yeah, they had them back in the '60s when my grandmother would go to we'd take her down and she'd go on the train back to Texas.
Those are worth a lot of money.
Put their little step down there.
Yeah, they're worth a lot of money if you can find them.
Oh, I imagine. I've got to find a place for the keys to the train that you gave me, or the key to the train.
The key, the gold key.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I've got plans for the track too that you made me. I'm going to stain the wood and
cool,
and rust the rails and all that stuff. So eventually.
What kind of track did you get?
I'm sorry?
What kind of track did Steve give you?
He gave me some of the track that his steam train runs on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's about this long, and then he made some ties for it and put them on the ties and gave it to me when I was up there.
Where'd you put it? You gonna hang it on the wall?
It's sitting in the garage right now, but yeah, I'm gonna stain the ties and rust the rails and stuff, and
cool.
I'll put it somewhere.
You
Yeah,
plan on
maybe it may have to stay in the shop. I don't know. You know, I'm not the only one to say something about it. So
you can put it in your train room.
there's not a lot of wall space in there though. The train takes up all that. And even my plaque that she had made me, got me for Christmas, I ended up putting it on the door because there's no wall space there that you can see because the backdrops are all up. So there's no place really in there to put it. I'd like to put it in here, but I don't think she'll allow that.
Maybe
I'm pushing it with the propeller up here and stuff. So
we'll have to talk about this. I have an idea. We'll talk about it another time.
okay. Well, that's our hour, guys. Excuse me. Thanks for being here, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a good week next week. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Bill will be back with us.
Yep.
And
do we have a guest for next weekend?
Not right now, but I've been trying to get some people.
I thought we had 2 or 3 people lined up. We just don't have dates yet.
I get people tell me they want to be on, then they don't answer back. So
yeah, everybody wants to be on, but when it comes down.
But yeah, if any of y'all want to be on the show sometime, just let us know. Send an email to the Back on Track moderators, and you can find that. You should be able to find that on the YouTube page.
So next week is regular Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as I know, yeah. I don't think there's anything else coming.
Email.
Okay.
You're breaking up, Steve. What'd you say?
Back on track moderator email.com.
Yep. At gmail.com. Just send an email to that and pick it up, and we'll get you on the show. But anyway.
See you,
Later, guys.
See you guys later. Thanks, Jerry, Steve, Dennis. Your train's running off the table.
April.
It's going into the yard, Claude.
Yeah, but you looked.
Okay. See you guys later.
See you guys later.